The massive hegemony warship drifted into Earth's orbit like a metallic predator. Its hull bore the scars of 100 conquests, each mark representing another civilization brought to heel. Ambassador Tyke stood on the command deck, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue planet spin below. "Primitives," he muttered, noting the crude satellites and space stations orbiting Earth. 300 worlds have fallen before us. This will be no different." The communication officer approached with a slight bow. "The humans have agreed to meet, Ambassador. They request neutral ground on their lunar base." Tyke smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. As if there is such a thing as neutral ground when speaking with the hegemony. The lunar diplomatic station was sparse but functional. Tyke arrived with 4 elite guards, their armor gleaming under the artificial lights. He expected fear, perhaps desperate pleas from the humans. Instead, he found Admiral Han and her team waiting calmly at the polished table, their faces showing nothing but professional courtesy. "Ambassador Tyke," Admiral Han said, rising to her full height. She was shorter than the ambassador, but carried herself with unmistakable authority. "Welcome to Lunar Station. I trust your journey was comfortable." Tyke didn't bother with pleasantries. "I come with a message from Emperor Dol. The Galactic Hegemony claims this system and all its resources. Your species will submit to our rule or face extinction. Those are your only options." The humans exchanged glances but showed no fear. Admiral Han took a sip of water before responding. "We appreciate your directness, Ambassador. However, Earth must respectfully decline your offer." Tyke blinked all 4 of his eyes in succession, a gesture of disbelief among his kind. "Perhaps I wasn't clear. The hegemony fleet carries enough firepower to reduce your cities to ash. Your military technology is centuries behind ours." Admiral Han smiled. "Is it?" She tapped a control on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing the hegemony fleet in Earth orbit. Then the image expanded, revealing hundreds of previously invisible defense platforms surrounding the alien ships. "Our stealth technology is quite advanced, as you can see," Han explained. "Those platforms locked onto your vessels the moment you entered our system." Tyke's scales flushed a deep purple. Anger. "A clever trick, but you cannot match our numbers or our experience in war." "We have no desire for war, Ambassador. That's why I'm giving you this." Han slid a small crystal across the table. "This contains coordinates to an uninhabited star system just 3 light-years from here. Resources are plentiful there. No bloodshed necessary." The ambassador picked up the crystal, studying it with suspicion. "And if we choose to ignore this generous offer?" Admiral Han's expression hardened. "You have 72 hours to withdraw your fleet to those coordinates. After that, we cannot guarantee your safety." One of Tyke's guards stepped forward, weapon hand twitching. "You dare threaten the hegemony?" "Not a threat," Han replied. "A warning from one spacefaring civilization to another." Tyke laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "Your species still uses combustion engines for your spacecraft. Your largest warships would fit in our cargo holds. What could you possibly do against a fleet that has conquered 300 worlds?" Instead of answering, Admiral Han stood. 72 hours, Ambassador. I suggest you use the time wisely." Back aboard his command ship, Tyke threw the crystal against a wall, where it shattered into glittering fragments. "Prepare bombardment calculations," he ordered his command staff. "We'll target their largest cities first." His second-in-command, Officer Gill, approached cautiously. "Sir, our sensors have been analyzing those defense platforms. They're unusual." "Explain." "The seed energy signatures don't match any known technology. And our deep scans can't penetrate their hulls." Gill hesitated. "There's something else. We've detected unusual activity in the asteroid belt." Tyke dismissed the concerns with a wave. "Primitive mining operations, nothing more. But, sir, the Emperor's orders were to assess before engaging." Tyke turned on Gill with fury. "The Emperor is 20 light-years away. These humans mock us with their warnings while their planet lies defenseless." That night, as Tyke slept in his quarters, he dreamed of past conquests. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of alien species, all now serving the hegemony. Earth would be no different. What he didn't know was that deep within Earth's moon, Admiral Han stood in a vast chamber, filled with technology no human had publicly acknowledged possessing. Engineers worked at control stations, while giant screens monitored the hegemony fleet's every move. "They're scanning our defenses," reported Officer Kim, her fingers flying over holographic controls. "Trying to determine if they're real," Honey nodded. "And the quantum network? Online and ready. The fleet in the asteroid belt is standing by." Han stared at the image of Earth rotating peacefully, unaware of the danger looming above. Humanity had kept its most advanced technology hidden for generations, knowing that one day they would face this moment. The public knew nothing of the gravity drives, the subspace weapons, or the defense network spanning the entire solar system. "Let's hope they take the warning," Han said quietly. War should always be the last option, but as she studied the positioning of the hegemony ships, she knew Ambassador Tyke wasn't the type to back down. The coming days would reveal whether humanity's careful preparations would be enough against an empire that had never known defeat. The 72-hour deadline expired with the slow precision of a ticking clock. On the hegemony flagship, Ambassador Tyke stood triumphant as tactical officers positioned their warships in formation above Earth's major population centers. The massive vessels cast long shadows over the cities below, their weapons ports glowing with barely contained energy. "No signs of evacuation on the surface," reported Officer Gill, looking puzzled. "They continue daily activities as if we aren't even here," Tyke sneered. "Their leaders have hidden the truth from them. Typical of prey species, they prefer comfortable lies until the very end." The tactical display showed hundreds of targets, marked across Earth's surface: power plants, military installations, government buildings. The bombardment would begin with precision strikes, followed by widespread destruction to force a quick surrender. "Final targeting solutions locked," announced the weapons officer. "Awaiting your command, Ambassador." Tyke raised his hand, savoring the moment. 300 worlds had fallen before the hegemony. Earth would be no different. "Sir," a junior officer interrupted, pointing at a monitoring screen. "Launch detected from Earth's surface." Tyke lowered his hand and moved to the screen. A single projectile rose from somewhere in the northern hemisphere, trailing fire and smoke. Its trajectory aimed directly at the flagship. A laugh rippled through the command deck. "A single missile against a hegemony dreadnought, primitive." "Chemical propulsion," confirmed the sensor officer. "Minimal guidance systems, no energy weapons signature," Tyke smiled. "Let it come closer before we destroy it. I want their defense command to witness the futility of their resistance." The missile continued its ascent, a tiny dot on the massive tactical display. Point defense systems tracked it automatically, ready to vaporize the primitive weapon long before it posed any threat. "Odd," muttered the sensor officer. "Its heat signature is unusual for chemical propulsion." "Impact in 30 seconds, announced Tactical. Tyke crossed his arms. "Hold point defense fire until the last moment. Let them hope." 20 seconds. The missile continued on its predictable path. 10 seconds. "Arm point defense lasers," ordered Tyke. 5 seconds. "Fire." Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the flagship, striking the missile directly. The command deck erupted in cheers as the projectile exploded in a flash of light. But the celebration died instantly when the sensor officer shouted, "Multiple contacts, thousands of them." The tactical display transformed from orderly clarity to chaos as thousands of tiny objects separated from the missile's explosion, spreading like a cloud of metallic dust. "What are they?" demanded Tyke. "Too small for missiles," replied the bewildered officer. "Some kind of micro-drones." "Impossible. Their technology can't. They're altering course, accelerating." The cloud of micro-drones moved with impossible coordination, spreading out to envelop not just the flagship, but every hegemony vessel in orbit. Point defense systems fired frantically, destroying dozens, then hundreds of the tiny objects. But there were thousands more, moving too fast, too unpredictably. "Raise shields," Tyke ordered. "Shields at maximum," confirmed the defense officer. "But, sir, they're getting through somehow." All across the command deck, officers reported the same phenomenon. The micro-drones were phasing through their most sophisticated defenses as if they weren't there. Tyke slammed his fist on the console. "Impossible! Nothing can penetrate hegemony shields." "They're attaching to the hull," reported Gill, voice shaking with disbelief. "Every ship in the fleet reports the same. Destroy them, launch fighters." "Sir, they're not attacking, they're just attaching." A strange silence fell over the command deck as everyone realized the drones had stopped moving. Thousands of the tiny devices now clung to the hull of every hegemony ship, but they weren't causing damage. "What are they doing?" whispered Tyke as, if in answer, the main view screen activated on its own. A simple message appeared, simultaneously broadcasting on every communication channel. "This could have been a weapon. Second warning." Tyke stared at the message, his four eyes blinking in astonished sequence. "How did they access our systems?" "Sir, we're being hailed," said the communications officer. "It's the human admiral." Admiral Han's face appeared on screen, her expression calm and resolute. "Ambassador Tyke, I trust our message is clear." "This trick changes nothing," Tyke growled, fighting to hide his shock. "Your micro-drones are impressive, but they carry no weapons. The hegemony still holds the advantage. Those aren't ordinary drones, Ambassador. Each contains enough energy to vaporize a section of hull the size of your command deck. We chose not to activate them." A chill ran through Tyke's scales. "You're bluffing. Scan them if you don't believe me, but do so carefully. They're rather sensitive to certain scanning frequencies." Officer Gill approached, voice lowered. "Sir, preliminary scans show exotic energy patterns we can't identify. If these readings are accurate," Han continued, "you have 24 hours to begin moving your fleet to the coordinates we provided. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." Tyke hissed in fury. "The hegemony does not retreat." "Then the hegemony has never faced humans before," Han replied simply. 24 hours, Ambassador. Use them wisely." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Officer Gill spoke quietly. "Sir, we should inform Emperor Doll of this development." Taiki paced the command deck, all four fists clenched. 300 conquered worlds, and none had ever displayed technology like this. How had humans hidden such capabilities? What else were they concealing? "Sir," one of the engineers called out, voice trembling, "we've analyzed one of the drones more thoroughly. It's utilizing quantum entanglement for communication." "That's how they bypassed our shields and communication security." Tyke froze. Quantum entanglement technology had eluded hegemony scientists for centuries. "And the energy source?" he asked. The engineer swallowed hard. "If these readings are correct, the one drone contains enough compressed energy to destroy a ship twice this size." On Earth, Admiral Han stood in the hidden command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, watching the hegemony fleet through advanced sensors. Beside her, Officer Kim monitored the micro-drones attached to the alien vessels. "Do you think they'll withdraw?" Kim asked. Han watched the alien ships, still positioned for bombardment. "Ambassador Tyke won't. But I'm hoping someone else in their chain of command values survival over pride." She turned to the quantum communication array. "Is the asteroid belt fleet ready?" "Yes, Admiral. All ships at combat readiness." Han nodded. "Let's hope we don't need them." Ambassador Tyke paced the command deck of the flagship, scales flushed dark with rage. The quantum communication array hummed as Emperor Doll's massive holographic form dominated the chamber. The Emperor's 6 eyes narrowed as he processed the information about the human microdrones. "Are you allowed these primitives to attach devices to our entire fleet?" Emperor Doll's voice rumbled with barely contained fury. Tyke bowed low. "My Emperor, their technology is unexpected. The drones bypassed our shields using methods our scientists cannot explain." "Excuses." The Emperor's tail lashed violently in the projection. 300 worlds have fallen before us. This backwater planet will not be the exception." Officer Gill stood nervously to the side, datapad clutched in his trembling hands. "Sire, preliminary analysis suggests the humans possess technology we haven't encountered before. I recommend caution until we..." Silence. The Emperor's roar caused the hologram to flicker. "I did not conquer half the galaxy by showing caution. Launch all fighters immediately. Overwhelm them with numbers. Their parlor tricks cannot stop the might of the hegemony." Tyke hesitated. "The human deadline hasn't... I care nothing for..." "Their deadlines. Attack now, or I will find someone who will." The hologram vanished, leaving the command deck in tense silence. Tyke turned to his officers. "So you heard the Emperor. Launch all fighter squadrons, target their major defense installations first." Within minutes, launch bays across the hegemony fleet slid open. Thousands of dart-shaped fighters poured out, their engines glowing bright, against the darkness of space as they formed into attack formations. The fighters were the pride of the hegemony, fast, nimble, and deadly. Worlds had surrendered at the mere sight of them, darkening their skies. On Earth, deep within the hidden command center, alarms blared as sensors detected the massive launch. Admiral Han rushed to the central holographic display where Officer Kim was already bringing up tactical overlays. "Fighter launch detected from all hegemony vessels," Kim reported. "Estimated 5,000 craft on approach. They're ignoring our warning." Han's expression hardened. "So they've chosen war." She tapped her communication implant. "Activate Odin Protocol." Across Earth's orbit, what had appeared to be defunct satellites and space debris suddenly came to life. Hundreds of stealth platforms that had remained dormant and invisible now powered up, their surfaces shifting to reveal complex arrays of technology. On the hegemony flagship, a junior officer cried out in alarm. "New contacts appearing in orbit, hundreds of them." Officer Gill rushed to the sensor station. "How did we miss them? They weren't there a moment ago." "Active camouflage technology," the sensor operator replied. "They've been there all along." Tyek slammed his fist on the console. "It doesn't matter. Our fighters will overwhelm whatever defenses they have. Continue the attack." The hegemony fighters accelerated toward Earth, their formations splitting into attack vectors aimed at strategic targets across the planet. Their pilots, veterans of dozens of conquest campaigns, felt the familiar surge of excitement as they closed in on their prey. Aboard the lead fighter, Squadron Commander Pak laughed as he spotted the human orbital platforms. "Look at these primitive defense stations. No weapons that I can see." His wingmate's voice crackled through the comm. "Maybe they're surrender beacons." The squadron erupted in laughter until the platforms began to pulse with blue-white energy. "What are they?" Commander Pak's question died as a wave of invisible force washed over his fighter. Every system in his craft shut down simultaneously. Propulsion, weapons, life support, even his helmet display. Around him, thousands of hegemony fighters drifted powerless, their formations dissolving into chaos. On the flagship, Tyke watched in horror as the tactical display showed all fighter squadrons going dark simultaneously. "What happened? Report," he demanded. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse," Gill replied, voice shaking. "But unlike anything we've ever seen, it penetrated our shielding as if it wasn't there." "Are the fighters destroyed?" "No, just disabled. Life support backup systems are functional, but weapons and engines are completely offline." Tyke gripped the edge of the tactical table. "Send the cruisers to recover the fighters and continue the attack." Before the order could be relayed, the Yao sensor officer shouted, "New contacts, emerging from the asteroid belt." The tactical display updated to show dozens of sleek vessels appearing from behind asteroids and hidden bases. The ships moved with impossible speed, changing direction in ways that defied physics as the hegemony understood it. "Those can't be human ships," Tyke whispered. "Our intelligence reports indicate their space force consists of chemical rockets and basic orbital platforms." The human vessels accelerated toward the disabled fighter squadrons, moving in perfect coordination. They were smaller than hegemony cruisers, but radiated energy signatures that made the sensor officers recoil in disbelief. "Sir, those ships are using some kind of gravity manipulation drive," reported the science officer. "They're bending space-time to move." Tyke stared in disbelief. "Impossible. That technology is theoretical even for the hegemony." The human ships surrounded the drifting fighters, extending energy fields that gently corralled them into groups. Not a single shot was fired. No fighters were destroyed. Instead, the human vessels systematically towed the helpless hegemony craft away from Earth's orbit. On Admiral Han's command ship at the edge of the asteroid belt, the bridge hummed with focused activity. Unlike the ornate command centers of the hegemony, the human vessel was functional and efficient. Officers worked at streamlined consoles, coordinating the recovery operation. "All fighter craft secured, Admiral," reported Captain Jin. "No casualties." "On either side?" Han nodded, watching the tactical display. And the hegemony capital ships? Maintaining position. They appear to be hesitating. I'd be hesitating too, Han said with a grim smile. She opened a channel to the hegemony flagship. Ambassador Tech, this is Admiral Han. As you can see, we could have destroyed your fighter squadrons but chose not to. Your pilots are unharmed. Consider this our third warning. You now have 12 hours to withdraw. On the hegemony flagship, Tyke's scales had paled to a sickly grey. Everything they knew about human technological capabilities had been wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Sir, Gil said quietly, the Emperor must be informed that we are not facing a primitive species. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities. Tyke stared at the tactical display, showing his disabled fighters being neatly arranged in a holding pattern by the human vessels. Not one had been destroyed. Not one pilot killed. It was not the mercy of the weak, but the confident restraint of the powerful. What else are they hiding? He whispered. A cold feeling of dread settling in his stomach for the first time in his long military career. Emperor Doll's hologram towered over the command deck, his scaled face contorted with rage as Ambassador Tyke and Officer Gil reported. The humiliating defeat of their fighter squadrons. Thousands of our best pilots, neutralized without a single shot fired. The Emperor's voice sent vibrations through the deck plates. Impossible. The evidence is irrefutable, Your Eminence, Gil said, gesturing to the tactical display where their disabled fighters floated in neat formations, contained by human vessels. They possess technology we've never encountered. Gravity manipulation drives, energy fields that ignore our shielding, and weapons that... Excuses. Emperor Doll slammed his ceremonial staff down, causing the hologram to flicker. In 3,000 years, no species has defied the hegemony and survived. These humans are nothing but clever primitives, with a few technological surprises. Tyke stepped forward cautiously. My Emperor, I recommend we withdraw temporarily and reassess. Their capabilities clearly exceed our intelligence reports. A new voice cut through the conversation. The ambassador shows wisdom, Emperor. Wisdom. You would be well advised to follow. Admiral Sorn, the Emperor's most decorated military commander, stepped into the holographic projection. Unlike Tyke's diplomatic build, Sorn was a massive figure, his battle-scarred scales and augmented limbs telling the story of countless campaigns. Withdraw before primitives? Sorn's mandibles clicked in disgust. The Emperor spoke of 3,000 years of conquest. Will that legacy end today because of a few technical tricks? The Emperor's eyes narrowed. What do you propose, Admiral Sorn? I have brought the Worldbreaker into this system, hidden in the shadow of the gas giant. One shot will end this pathetic resistance and remind the galaxy of the price of defiance. Tyke jolted forward. The Worldbreaker. That weapon is only to be used as a last resort. The humans have shown restraint. They haven't killed a single hegemony soldier. Their restraint is their weakness, Sorn snarled. And it will be their undoing. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. The Admiral makes a compelling point. However, I am not yet ready to authorize the Worldbreaker. Continue diplomatic efforts while we... With respect, Emperor, Sorn interrupted. By the time this transmission reaches you, I will have already acted. For the glory of the hegemony. The Admiral's image vanished from the projection. Tyke turned to Gil in horror. He's going to deploy the Worldbreaker against direct orders. Contact Admiral Sorn immediately. But it was too late. On the tactical display, a massive vessel emerged from behind the gas giant Jupiter. The Worldbreaker was the hegemony's most terrible weapon, a moon-sized ship housing a gravimetric cannon capable of shattering a planet's core. All hands battle stations, Tyke ordered. Prepare to intercept the Worldbreaker. Gil looked at him in shock. Sir, are you countermanding the Admiral's orders? I'm preventing an unsanctioned genocide, Tyke responded. Emperor Doll did not authorize this attack. But before their ships could move, the Worldbreaker's main cannon began to glow with terrible energy. Arcs of crimson power crawled across its surface as it aligned with Earth. Officer Gil's voice was barely audible. Firing sequence initiated. Impact in 8 minutes. On Earth, alarms blared throughout the hidden command center. Admiral Han studied the tactical display showing the Worldbreaker's activation sequence. Time to impact? She asked calmly. 7 minutes, 50 seconds, responded Officer Kim. Planet Buster class weapon. If it hits, Earth's core will destabilize. Han nodded, showing no fear. Activate the Mobius protocol. Throughout the command center, officers moved with practiced efficiency, entering complex codes into their stations. Captain Jin approached Han with a small device. The jump coordinates are locked, Admiral. Phase shift harness ready. Han secured the device to her uniform. Deploy the interceptors. I'll handle the diplomatic side. In deep space, halfway between Jupiter and Earth, the fabric of reality suddenly rippled. What appeared to be holes in space itself opened, perfect circles of swirling blue energy. Through these artificial wormholes emerged a dozen sleek black vessels, unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen. They moved with impossible speed, surrounding the Worldbreaker before its sensors could even register their presence. On the hegemony flagship, Tyke watched in astonishment. What are those ships? Where did they come from? Sir, Gil's voice trembled. Those appear to be controlled wormholes. The humans can manipulate space-time at will. The human vessels surrounded the Worldbreaker, extending beams of blue energy that enveloped the massive weapon. The crimson glow of its charging cannon suddenly dimmed as the energy was harmlessly absorbed. Admiral Sorn's face appeared on the flagship's main screen, his scales pale with fury. What trickery is this? The Worldbreaker's power core is being drained. Before Tyke could respond, a ripple of energy formed in the center of the command deck. Officers scattered as a perfect circle of blue light appeared in the air, widening, to create a doorway between spaces. Through this impossible portal stepped Admiral Han, flanked by 2 officers. They wore no spacesuits, no breathing apparatus, just standard uniforms with small devices attached to their collars. "Hello, Ambassador Tyke," Han said calmly, as if arriving through a normal doorway rather than a tear in reality. "I thought it was time we spoke in person." Tyke's security team raised their weapons, but Han's officers made no hostile moves. They simply stood at attention, seemingly unconcerned by the arsenal aimed at them. How did you get aboard my ship?" Tyke managed to ask. "The same way we've been visiting thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy for the past 3,000 years, Han replied. "Directed quantum tunneling. We call it doorstepping." Emperor Doll's hologram still dominated the room, his 6 eyes wide, with shock. "Who are you people? What are you?" Han turned to face the Emperor. "We are humans. We've been watching your empire for centuries. We've had interstellar capabilities longer than your civilization has existed." The Emperor's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Impossible. Our civilization is over 3,000 years old. And humanity has been traveling between stars for nearly 5,000, Han said simply. "We stayed hidden because we believe in self-determination. Every species deserves the chance to develop without interference." "If that's true," Teg said, finding his voice, "why reveal yourselves now?" Han's expression hardened. "Because your conquest threatened too many innocent lives. Did you really think the Vroden of Epsilon Eridani suddenly developed shield technology that repelled your invasion fleet? Or that the Lysithian plague that decimated your forces at Proxima Centauri was a natural mutation?" Realization dawned on Tyke's face. "You've been helping them. All the unexpected defeats, the mysterious technological leaps among primitive species. We've been quietly helping oppressed species throughout the galaxy," Han confirmed. "Nudging technology, providing medical assistance, offering guidance. We prefer to work in the shadows. Until now." The Emperor's hologram flickered as he processed this revelation. "If what you say is true, why not simply destroy us? Why these warnings?" Han looked directly at the Emperor. "Because that's not who we are. Humanity learned through bitter experience that conquest and destruction only lead to more of the same. We seek a different path." The command deck fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Humans hadn't just defeated the hegemony. Today, they had been invisibly shaping galactic events for millennia. "Your Worldbreaker has been neutralized," Han continued. "Your fighters will be returned unharmed. Now, Emperor Doll, I believe it's time we discuss the future of galactic relations, one that doesn't involve conquest." The Grand Hall of the Hegemony flagship had been transformed overnight. Where once stood displays of conquered worlds and battle trophies, now hung the simple blue flag of Earth alongside the six-starred emblem of the hegemony. Emperor Dol sat on a makeshift throne, his massive frame diminished somehow by recent events. Across from him, Admiral Han and her team sat calmly at the negotiation table. "The terms are quite straightforward," Han said, gesturing to the document displayed on the table's surface. "The hegemony will immediately withdraw from 28 systems where the indigenous species have actively resisted your rule. Another 73 worlds will transition to self-governance over the next 5 years." Tyke, standing beside the Emperor's throne, leaned forward. "And the remaining worlds?" "Those that have peacefully integrated with the hegemony may choose their own path through a fair referendum," Han replied. "We have no desire to destroy what works, only to correct what doesn't." Emperor Dol's secondary eyes blinked slowly, a sign of deep thought among his species. "And if we refuse these terms, will you use your wormhole technology to place your weapons directly in our homeworld's orbit?" Han shook her head. "We could have done that at any time over the past 1,000 years, Emperor. That's not our way." Officer Gill, who had been analyzing the proposed accords, looked up in confusion. "These terms, they don't demand reparations, they don't require disarmament, they don't even ask for technology exchange." "Correct," said Captain Jin from the human delegation. "We don't need your technology or resources." The Emperor's tail twitched with agitation. "I don't understand. You clearly possess the power to conquer us, to take everything. Why these half measures?" Admiral Han stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, Earth was visible as a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Several human ships were visible, escorting hegemony vessels as they prepared for departure. "3 days ago you thought us primitives," Han said quietly, "yet we've had the ability to span galaxies for longer than your empire has existed. In all that time we've never established an empire of our own. Have you wondered why?" The Emperor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Enlighten me." Han turned back to face him. "Look at human history, Emperor. You'll find millennia of warfare. Empire after empire rose and fell. Civilizations conquered and were conquered in turn. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once." A holographic display activated, showing scenes from human history. Ancient battles, world wars, the devastation that followed. "Each time we teetered on the edge of extinction," Han continued, "we learned something. War is failure. Death is wasteful. True power isn't measured by the worlds you control, but by the lives you improve." The Emperor studied the images with all 6 eyes. "Pretty philosophy, Admiral. But the galaxy is not kind to philosophers. Power is the only language most species understand." "Is it?" Han asked. She gestured, and the hologram changed to show various worlds throughout the galaxy, places where the hegemony had faced unexpected resistance or mysterious setbacks. When your invasion of the Kylar system failed, because their primitive defenders suddenly deployed advanced shield technology, that was us. When 3 of your colony worlds mysteriously evacuated before your arrival, that was us. For centuries, we've been quietly helping others resist without revealing ourselves. Tyke stepped forward. "Why reveal yourselves now?" "Because it's time for change," Han replied simply. "Because operating from the shadows has limits, and because your expansion finally threatened too many innocent lives." The Emperor's massive claws clicked against his throne. "What's to stop us from rebuilding our forces once you leave? From learning from this defeat and returning stronger?" Han smiled. "Nothing. That's the point, Emperor. We're offering you a choice, not imposing our will. You can continue down your path of conquest until you eventually face something even more powerful than humanity. Or you can join us in building something better." She gestured, and another hologram appeared, a spectacular orbital structure circling a distant star. "This is the Arcturus Collective," Han explained. 17 species working together, each maintaining their autonomy, while sharing resources and knowledge. They were once like you, conquerors who learned a better way. They're now among our oldest allies." The Emperor studied the image. "And what role would the hegemony play in this new paradigm?" "That's entirely up to you," Han replied. "Your people have incredible strengths, Organizational skill, technological innovation, adaptability. Imagine those qualities directed toward cooperation rather than conquest. A long silence filled the chamber as the Emperor contemplated. Finally, he extended a massive clawed hand toward the document. "The hegemony accepts these terms," he rumbled. "Not out of fear, but curiosity. I wish to see this alternative path you speak of." 3 months later, Admiral Han stood at the observation deck of the orbital station newly constructed between Earth and Luna. Below her, representatives from 32 formerly subjugated species mingled with hegemony officials and human diplomats. The signing of the Sol Accords had just concluded, a ceremony broadcast to thousands of worlds. Officer Kim approached, offering a data tablet. "The first transition reports, Admiral. The Vorax system has already formed its first elected council. The hegemony administrators are providing technical assistance as agreed." Han nodded, pleased. "And the Proxima situation?" "Surprisingly smooth. The joint human hegemony medical team has nearly eradicated the plague." Captain Jin joined them, looking out at the Earth below. "Did you ever think you'd see this day? Former enemies working together?" Han smiled. "It's only the beginning. Change doesn't happen overnight, especially for an empire 3,000 years old." "Some still question our approach," Kim noted. "They wonder if we're being naive, trusting the hegemony to honor these accords." "Trust but verify," Han replied. "Our doorstep technology hasn't gone anywhere, neither has our fleet. But every day without conflict is a victory." Outside the viewport, a hegemony diplomatic vessel prepared to depart, its hull now bearing both the 6 stars of the hegemony and the blue emblem of the Sol Accords. Ambassador Taek stood on its bridge, watching the Earth recede as they accelerated toward the newly established wormhole gate. "Still troubled, Ambassador?" asked Gil, who had been promoted after the averted conflict. "Just contemplating history," Taek replied. 3,000 years of conquest ended not by a superior conqueror but by something else entirely. "Something better, perhaps," Gil suggested. As their ship approached the wormhole gate, technology freely shared by the humans as part of the Accords, Taek watched the swirling blue energy that would instantly transport them halfway across the galaxy. "The Emperor has assigned me to the Arcturus Collective Observation Mission," Taek said. "I'm to learn everything I can about this alternative model the humans spoke of." Gil nodded. "A wise choice. You questioned the attack on Earth from the beginning." "I simply calculated the odds," Taek demurred, "but I never imagined this outcome." Their ship entered the wormhole, experiencing the now familiar sensation of being everywhere and nowhere at once. In seconds, they emerged in a distant star system, where representatives of dozens of species awaited to welcome the former conquerors as potential partners. Throughout the galaxy, worlds that had lived in fear of the hegemony for generations watched in amazement as human mediators arrived, bringing not weapons but promises of freedom and self-determination. The balance of power had shifted, not through war but through something far more powerful, the possibility of peace. The end.